have one other person coming in. Hello, thank you for joining us. We'll wait a few more seconds before we get started. We'll see if anyone else will join. My name is Cecilia. I'm the Fitness and Wellness Coordinator at the Student Recreation and Wellness Center. So happy for Annabelle to be here with us today to host our wellness lecture on embodied emotion. Annabelle is actually a therapist through CAPS, so I'm sure she has plenty of knowledge and insight to offer us today. Before Annabelle gets started on her presentation, we do have a few house rules that we'd like you to follow. If you can ensure that you're on mute, that would be very helpful for us. That way there's no distraction or individuals being talked over. If you do have a question or general comment, feel free to use the chat. I'll be monitoring that for Annabelle and asking questions for her or for you. Our discussion today should focus around the topic of the event. Questions around COVID-19, refunds, etc. are not topics for today's discussion. And additionally, please view this room as a non-judgmental space. We are in unique situations, so we want to be as welcoming to each other as possible. And then to let you know, we are recording this workshop to potentially offer it in the future or to post online. I'll make sure that the screen that is being recorded is of me and Annabelle and any shared material, so your face shouldn't be on that recording. If you should be getting a notification consent through Zoom, so you do not have to consent if you don't want to, but to let you know this is being recorded. If Annabelle, do you have any other house rules that you want to add in?
I think you covered most everything. I would just really encourage people to just notice any reactivity in your mind and your body as we go throughout this workshop. I know we're going to be talking about difficult emotions and bodies which can feel vulnerable. So I know it's easy to judge our own experience, but just observe and notice and let yourself experience for the next hour. That's all.
Great. Well, it looks like we have our group for today. So whenever you're ready, Annabelle, take it away.
So welcome to Embodied Emotion. Before we get started, I wanted to just go over, let me pull up my PowerPoint. Although I am a therapist from CAPS, I wanted to reiterate that this is not supposed to be a replacement for a therapy session or a group session. We're just connecting over information and learning skills together. But if you do need a therapy session or to call an on-call counselor, feel free to leave here and call CAPS if something comes up for you. Our number is on the screen. It's 562-985-4001. And right now, someone will be available to talk to you from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., but you can always call outside those hours and it will redirect you to someone else to talk to. So just know that we're here to support you. So call us if you need. But as far as today, we're going to be talking about how our bodies respond to distress, to any threats in our lives, to intense emotion, difficult emotions. And locate these things in our body and learn how to use our body, since it's a part of experiencing emotion, to help us identify what we're feeling and also how to move through it and cope with it. So before we go any further, I wanted to start this workshop in a congruent way to what we're talking about. I know we're meeting over Zoom and this feels kind of disconnecting almost, and I want to provide a couple minutes for us to just invite our bodies into this space. So I encourage you to find a comfortable position, whether you're sitting down, you can lay down. I can't see you, no one can see you, you can do whatever you want. So just get comfortable, and we're gonna do a guided meditation, a body scan. All right, let's get started. So I invite you to begin by bringing your attention into your body. And you can close your eyes if that feels comfortable to you. If that feels overwhelming, you can keep them open and just set your gaze somewhere in front of you, but make your gaze soft. And now just begin to notice your body, seated wherever you're seated. feeling the weight of your body on your chair or on the floor. Maybe you're on your bed. And just take a few deep breaths. And as you take your next deep breath, imagine bringing in more fresh oxygen into your lungs. And as you exhale, have a sense of relaxing more deeply. Notice your feet on the floor. The sensation of your feet touching the floor. The weight and pressure, vibration, maybe the heat. Then notice your legs against the chair or floor, the pressure there, the blood pulsing through them, the heaviness, maybe the lightness. Notice your back. Maybe it's against the back of your chair. Maybe it's on the floor. Maybe it's just supporting your body in space. Now bring your attention into your stomach area. If your stomach is tense or tight, try to let it soften just a little bit. And take another breath. Notice your hands. Are your hands tense or tight? See if you can allow them to soften. Notice your arms. Feel any sensation in your arms. Moving up to your shoulders. How are they feeling? Maybe let them soften. Notice your neck and throat. Let them be soft, a little more relaxed. Soften your jaw. Let your face and facial muscles be soft. And then just notice your whole body present. And take one more breath. And just be aware of your whole body as best you can. And on your next breath in, and on your next breath out, you can gently come back to this space and open your eyes. I know that whenever I do even a simple body scan like that, I always notice something in my body that I wasn't as aware of before. I think that time it was my jaw. So I just invite you, as we were becoming more aware of our bodies through that body scan, to continue that intention through the workshop and see what you notice. Before we get to more experiential activities, I wanted to give a brief overview, like I said, of our body's response to distress, threat, and intense emotion. So stress is our body's response to any kind of outside demand or threat. And I'm going to walk you through what happens a little bit in your body. So your body and your brain are processing a demand or threat. This is my brain. So if you took it out of my head, this is my brain. So the threat is processed. The amygdala turns on. The amygdala is the center of your brain. It's the emotion center. It reacts right away to things. So the amygdala lights up. And then eventually your sympathetic nervous system is activated and your body is filled with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. And these things get a bad rap, but they're really trying to help you respond and get through a tough situation. So when these stress hormones are in your body, you might notice things like your heart rate increasing. You might notice you have sweaty pits. You might notice that your face feels flushed. You may even notice that your muscles feel tight, like contracted, because your body's getting ready to do something. You might even notice your hands shaking or your muscles shaking. And that's because you have increased energy because of these stress hormones that are trying to get you through something scary. But the thing that I want to communicate to you today is that this bodily response that I just walked you through briefly doesn't just happen right before you almost get into a wreck on the freeway, or when a dog is chasing you, or test-taking anxiety, or public speaking. This body response is triggered in you whenever you feel an emotion that puts you on alert, whenever you feel triggered by an emotion. I know that's a very like pop psychology word, but it triggers your stress response. So these emotions that will activate our stress response are likely ones that you've experienced a lot through your life, something personally activating for you. So what might be triggering for me might not be triggering for you. So some of these examples of common emotions that are really painful that activate the stress response could be something like feeling betrayed, feeling not good enough, feeling unwanted, feeling like you're not measuring up, or feeling emotionally unsafe or physically unsafe in a relationship. All of these difficult, intense emotions are ones that can trigger this amygdala to wake up, for the sympathetic nervous system to kick in. And so our body responds to emotions. Emotions are not just things that happen in your head. They are things, it's an experience that we respond to in many ways. So now that we've established physiologically what happens in our bodies, I want to give you a chance just to yourself. I know this can feel a little vulnerable. Maybe you can type it in your phone or have a pen and paper nearby. I want you to be able to have a chance to identify one or two emotions that might be ones that trigger your stress response, something that you've experienced in your life that keeps on coming back. So this is not an exhaustive list, but just an example of a lot of primary basic human emotions. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. I'll look at my clock, I'll stop talking and let you reflect on what stands out to you. What makes you feel like, oh yeah, that's me. I know I have a couple on this list that make me feel that way too. So I'm going to be quiet and let you reflect for a couple minutes. Give about one more minute. Okay, I'm going to bring us back together. So now that hopefully you've been able to identify one or two emotions that stood out to you, maybe it was on this list, or maybe it made you think of another emotion that's not on this list. I want to touch base on how animals in the wild respond to stress and emotion. You might be thinking, why is she talking about animals? And that's because when it comes down to it, even though we are very high order, smart animals, we are mammals. Humans are mammals, and we have instincts that sometimes we ignore because we've been socialized and we have matured and evolved over time. But back to the animals. So through observing animals and animal research, it's been observed that animals go through a ritual whenever they survive something life-threatening or scary. For example, being chased by another animal that wants to eat you, like a lion with an antelope. If a lion is chasing an antelope and the antelope somehow survives, it gets through this experience alive, And you can look this up on YouTube if you want to see a visual of what I'm talking about. The antelope will lay on the ground and it will shake and it will tremble. And you can see it going through this, like these motions. It's like, what is this animal doing? And it'll go through this series of movements and motions and trembling and shaking until it's done. And then it'll get up and it'll walk away. It's what's happening with that animal is that the same stress response that happens in us happens in the animal. And they have so much excess energy from the adrenaline and the cortisol that help them get through it, that they need to discharge that energy out of their body. So when you're shaking, kind of like when you shake when you're nervous, that's because you have so much energy from the stress response. The animal is discharging that energy. And kind of a sad fact is that when animals somehow don't go through this ritual, a lot of them get sick and some of them actually die. I'm not saying that if you don't do what I tell you, you're going to die, but I'm just trying to emphasize the importance of our body's involvement in experiencing stress and the importance of movement in completing a stress response in mammals, and we are mammals. So my hope really is that by getting in touch with our bodies today, it will help us better be able to identify what we're feeling, how we're feeling, and be able to move through it in a way that's more holistic and embodied. And by doing this, we can develop a deeper relationship with ourselves that is filled with more understanding and more clarity. And then hopefully by taking care of ourselves, we can then connect with others in better, more informed ways. I just wanted to check in. Are there any questions so far? Is anyone completely lost? Is this making sense? If there are no questions, it's okay. I just want to pause for a moment just to make sure.
I'm not seeing any questions here in the chat.
Okay. Okay, if there are no questions, I'll keep going. But feel free, seriously, stop me at any time and I will pause, clear anything up. Okay. So we're going to go into an exercise that will help us get in touch with our experience, our what we like to call a felt sense, the felt sense of the emotion in your body. So you might want to keep that difficult emotion that might have been on the screen, whatever you wrote down, keep that in mind because I'm going to ask you to come back to it, to recall it. But before we go into that part of the exercise, I want us to spend a good 5 minutes getting grounded. Again, I know we did the body scan, but we're going to get even more grounded and more regulated. And we're going to do some deep breathing. I don't know what experience you've had with deep breathing, but I want to tell you why we're doing it because I like to know why I'm doing something. I'm kind of nerdy like that. So what we're doing with deep breathing, bringing back the brain. Remember, the amygdala gets really upset when we are threatened. It gets activated. When we bring in new oxygen to the brain on purpose, intentionally, over time, it soothes the amygdala. It calms it down. And not only does it calm down the amygdala, it turns on this front part of the brain called the frontal lobe that is really important in making decisions, decision-making, choosing coping that you want to instead of just reacting. So it's helping us stay grounded, and we're not trying to get rid of the intense emotion. I want us to be able to observe it and notice it and think about it in an intentional way. So we're going to breathe together for like 5 minutes. See how we're doing on time. Yeah, that should be good. Around 5 minutes. And this is how we're going to do it. Here's a visual in case you don't want to count in your head, but this is called 4 square breathing. And essentially, it makes it really easy. You do everything to the count of 4. So we'll walk through it. I'll walk it through, and then we'll do it together on the next round. So you're going to inhale through the nose for 4 counts. Then you're going to hold your breath for 4 counts. And then exhale for 4 counts, and then hold again, and then you'll start over. So make sure all the air is out. Now breathe in through the nose. Hold your breath here. Exhale here. And hold again. And we're going to keep doing this until about 5 minutes from now. So whether you want to look at the screen or just count in your head, I'm going to do it too because I need it as well. So happy breathing. We'll come back in 5. Going to do this for another 2 minutes. If you're following along with the visual, this will be our last time around. So coming back together, now that we're all grounded in our experience right now, our brains are nice and happy. We're going to go ahead and continue with a guided meditation that might help you visualize and experience what it's like to hold this emotion in your body. So I've put up on the screen a list of physical sensations that you can refer to later in the meditation, but I'll tell you when you have to look at the screen, you don't have to worry about anything. I will just guide you through it with my voice. So go ahead and find a comfortable position. We'll probably be here for maybe 7-8 minutes. So you can lay down, sit down, close your eyes, and find a place that feels comfortable to sit and reflect. Then we'll go ahead and get started. So what I will ask you to do will just be silent, just to yourself. So take a moment to settle in. And now, inside of you, I would like you to pay attention inwardly, in your body. Maybe it's your stomach or your chest or somewhere else. And see what you experience there when you ask yourself, how is my life going? What is the main thing for me right now? What difficult emotion keeps popping up? And just notice how your body responds to these questions. And take your time with this. Really slow down and see what happens to your body when you ask yourself, how is my life going? What is the main thing for me right now? And when a certain concern or emotion does come to mind, I encourage you to not go inside of it. Stand back from it and say to yourself, yeah, that's there. I can feel that there. And let there be a little space between you and that. And then ask what else you feel. Wait again and sense what happens. Usually, several things might come up for you. And I'll go ahead and give you a minute to ask yourself those questions and to see what comes up for you. And I'll continue after about 1 or 2 minutes. Continuing on to the next part. So from among the concerns that came up for you, I invite you to select one personal problem or difficult emotion to focus on. But again, don't necessarily go inside of it. Stand back from it. Of course, there are probably many parts to even that one thing or emotion you are feeling. Too many to think of each part independently, but you can feel all of these things together. Pay attention there in your body where you usually feel things, whether it's your stomach, chest, throat, hips, or wherever else. And in there, you can get a sense of what all the problem feels like. And let yourself just feel and sense all of that together. Again, I'm going to give you a minute or two to really explore what part of the body you might be experiencing this in. And take your time. I'll bring you back together when the time is up. Now that you might be more familiar with where in the body you might be holding something or feeling something, now I invite you to wonder what the quality of this physical felt sense of the emotion is. Maybe let a word or a phrase or an image come up from that felt sense. It might be a quality word like it feels tight, maybe it feels sticky, scary, or heavy, or jumpy. Maybe it even feels like a color. And if you need some help coming up with a word, you can reference some physical sensations on the screen. There's different textures and temperatures, the way it moves, how heavy it is. And stay with the quality that you're creating of the felt sense. Go back and forth until something feels just right, until the words match what your experience is inside your body. And just go back and forth between the felt sense and the word or the image you're creating and check how they resonate with each other. See if there is a bodily signal in your body that lets you know that it's a good fit. And I'm going to give a little bit more time for this and I'll bring it back around maybe after 3 minutes. So I'll give you 3 minutes to find words that fit. I'm going to give about another minute for this. Okay, slowly coming back together, staying in this reflective space. I just wanted to make sure there weren't any questions before we move into a little bit of the movement portion, the last part of the workshop. If there are any questions now, I'd be glad to answer them, or we can wait till the end, whatever people are needing.
No questions so far in the chat, so I think we're good to move forward.
Okay, let's move forward. So now, hopefully, and this is a practice and a discipline, so if this feels like a lot or if it feels like you're having trouble locating, that's okay. I just wanted to invite you into a practice that you can return to now that you kind of know how to do it yourself. So this next part that we're going to move into is a little bit of dynamic movement targeted at places in the body where we commonly experience emotion. And that would be the neck and chest, and then the gut and the spine area, and then our hips as well. And if you didn't experience emotion in one of those common areas, not a problem. This will just help you, give you an idea of how to incorporate some stretching and movement. And then you can, at the end, then do any movement that feels natural or intuitive to you, or in the part of the body that you actually experience it in. And I want to clarify what the purpose of the movement is. I know that I told you before that when animals experience a stress response, they often tremble, shake, they shake it off. As Taylor Swift says, you shake it off. And that's really what we're going to do. We're not going to be necessarily shaking, but providing dynamic movement for an opportunity for the energy from the built up stress hormones to shift, move, provide some movement so it can discharge or just shift. So we're going to be doing some stretching with the breath in the neck, chest, core, and hips. So starting with the neck. And there's no really way to do this wrong. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. But there might be a little muscle stretching, but the purpose is not to exercise or to improve athleticism or flexibility. Again, it's for the discharging of the stress hormones. So starting with the neck, what you're going to do is you're going to take your right arm out to the side, or either arm. I'm starting with my right arm. Then you'll take your left arm up and over and gently grab the side of your head. And when you're in this position, I want you to take a big inhale in. And then I'm going to exhale, stretch your neck to the side and pull your arm away from your body. And feel that release. On your inhale, come back up to center. And then stretch to the side. And just keep moving with your breath. In center. Exhale to the side. In center. Exhale to the side. And keep going for a little bit. Let's do 2 more on this side. And now let's gently switch sides. Other arm out. For me, my right arm is going to come up and over, gently grabbing the side of my head. And take an inhale here. Exhale to the side. Inhale, center. Exhale to the side. Inhale, center. And exhale. Feeling that release. Enjoying that shift in tension. Just taking it at your own pace. I'm just doing a couple more. And one more. Coming back to center. Let me switch my slides so you can see. Okay, there we go. That's what we're going to be doing. So that was the neck stretch. And what we are getting, some of the muscles that we're actually stretching were the scalenes. Those are involved. If you ever take a quick breath in like that, your scalenes are engaged. So that's part of the physiological thing that we were stretching, but it's more about the movement and the emotion and the stress hormones. But just so we know where we're talking about. So now we're going to move into our shoulders and chest. So what we're going to do, again, moving with the breath, starting with your arms stretched out. I'm going to have to rotate because I don't have enough room in my living room. So you're going to take a big inhale here with your arms out. On the exhale, wrap yourself in a hug, squeezing yourself. And then inhale out. Exhale, squeeze in. And keep doing that. Move with your breath. And breathe loud. Make it a dynamic movement. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. And keep on going for a little bit. Maybe a couple more here. That feels good. And enjoy the shifting and the tightness and the release going on in your chest and shoulders. And I'll go ahead and say that some of these might not resonate as much as others, depending on where you hold emotion in your body. So this is just an example of what you can do. And then you can build your own repertoire of what feels good and right and releasing for you. Moving on to our gut and spine area. So Cecilia, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this where you are. You can do whatever you want, what feels comfortable. So we're going to go into a cat-cow situation in yoga if you've ever done yoga. And this is to release any tension being held in the stomach area, the spine area. Oh my goodness, let me situate myself. So what you're going to do is be on all fours. Your hands are going to be directly beneath your shoulders. And then your knees are going to be hip width apart, right under your hips. And from this neutral position, you're going to take an inhale in and then drop your spine towards the floor and then look up. And then on your exhale, you're going to drop your head and curve your spine towards the ceiling. So exhale. So inhale, look up, drop the spine down. Oh, that feels good. Exhale, drop the head, spine goes to the ceiling, and keep moving with your breath. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. And keep moving, keep breathing. Feeling your spine move one vertebrae at a time. Enjoying this release. Feeling your breath move through your body as you move your body. And just letting anything shift or move. And if you want to stay arched for a minute, do that. Whatever feels intuitive to your body. Let your breath and your body guide you here. Inhale up. Exhale down. We'll just do a couple more breaths. And one more for good measure. And then you can come back to neutral. And just go ahead and stay here because the next one is going to be the hips. And we're just going to adjust our posture slightly before we move there. So stay on your hands and knees. We're going to go into goose posture, but set up a little bit different. So go ahead and bring your toes together and open your knees a little bit wider because we're going to end in child's pose. This is supposed to target the hips. So in this neutral position, your back is flat. Go ahead and take a big breath in. And then on your exhale, shift your weight back until your glutes meet your heels. Oh, I need to adjust. Until your glutes meet your heels and your nose goes towards the floor. Exhale. Come back to all fours. Inhale here. Exhale back. Inhale up to all fours. And then shift back on the exhale and really feel your hips opening up here. You might experience a release of tension. You might feel some emotion. I know a lot of emotion are held in the hips, which is just kind of odd, but it's a lot of people's experience. So you might want to move slow with this. Inhale here. Exhale back. Feel the shift and the release. I'm just doing this a few more times. Inhale up. Exhale back. Inhale up. Exhale back. And on this next one, I invite you to just stay in child's pose for a minute. So just keep your hips back, arms forward, and then nose towards the floor, and just let yourself experience this release for a little extra time in this position. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and come back up to a neutral spine. And then that is the sequence. So the last thing I always like to do after going through this sequence, I love doing it all. I experience some more than others. I think hip and neck are my two big ones. But after I do the sequence, I like to lay down, and I can just show you what it looks like if you're not familiar with laying down. I like to lay down in Savasana corpse posture and just reassess what my body feels like now that I've gone through some movement, intentionally thinking about my emotional experience, and just kind of reassess and let my body readjust. And you can stay here for as long as you want. You can really do any of these movements for as long as you want. I just did it more in an instructional way, and I guess I can get up and not talk to you from the floor. You can stay laying down if you want. I did it more in an instructional way today, just to walk you through it. But just know that you can modify it. You can pick two and then lay down, or I don't know, maybe you experience emotion in your ankle. I have no idea. Find a way to incorporate movement, whatever feels intuitive to your body, after you get the hang of addressing some areas that are commonly experiencing emotion. So that is all I have as far as content and movement. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If not, no big deal. You can always, again, contact CAPS if this brought up any emotion for you that you want to process. We're here for you to support you. And just a word, if this is new information or way of thinking about emotions in your body and you want to read more, one of the big authors that I have read, I'm also a massage therapist, so I have a little background in anatomy as well, but Peter Levine is a big researcher, psychologist, about what's called somatics and this mind-body connection. So if you want to Google just Peter Levine and see what comes up and read more about this, feel free to do that. Bo Forbes is another big one in this area. And then if you're looking for some mindfulness, guided mindfulness meditation, some might address the mind-body connection. Headspace is a great one, or UCLA, their website has a lot of guided meditations too. So that's just some resources for you all. But that's it.
Great. Thank you very much. I'll give a few more seconds for people to maybe put together their question.
Of course.
I am going to post in our chat a link to a survey. Both myself and Annabelle would love your feedback on the presentation today. So please fill that out. When you do fill it out, you are entered into a drawing for a $25 gift card of your choice. And then if you are looking for more events like this one, sign up for our Beach Balance newsletter. We will be hosting some virtual events over the summer and then our normal events, hopefully during the fall. So that's all I have to add. Anything else, Annabelle?
That's pretty much it. I'm so glad everyone came out today and took care of themselves, and hopefully this felt helpful in a break in your day. I know exams are coming up, so you might be feeling all kinds of stress in your body right now. So yeah, glad everyone was here.
Great. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so I think we're good to go. Thank you very much.
All right. It was so nice to see well, I didn't see anyone. Well, we're here.
Awesome. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Hope to see you soon.